Hello and welcome to Illini Drive on WPGU 107.1, still in Urbana Public Television studios. I will give you guys updates when that studio for WPGU gets back and running. Obviously, it's still doing music for right now, but still no live shows going on right now. But we're back from Thanksgiving break. I'm back from my week hiatus before Thanksgiving break, so thank you to you guys for holding down the show. Just a combination of exams.
Yeah, I haven't been.
Yeah. I guess it's been a little quiet, but thank you guys for holding it down. Just a combination of exams and a busy week and a ton of other stuff, as well as games that have kept us away. So yeah, it's good to be back. Everybody have a good break. Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, yes, very much so.
Yeah, good. Well, a lot happened over Thanksgiving break, so we got a lot to get to. This show is going to be entirely focused on Illinois sports. There's plenty of national news that we can get to and we can talk about, but Illinois did a lot over the break and is doing a lot more as the season and the year moves forward. So we got a lot to talk about, and we're going to open with Illinois football. Finishes 6-6. Round of applause to Brendyn and Jake for predicting the regular season before it started. The optimists of the group picked a bowl game season, and if you would have told us it would have gone this way, nobody would have believed you. Nope. Because I don't think this is the most unorthodox way that Illinois could have found themselves stumbling upon or achieving the 6-6 record that they did. They finished 6-6 after a 29-10 loss on Senior Day to a Northwestern team that hadn't won in the Big Ten just yet. Really ugly game. At first, it felt like it was going to be like that Purdue game, a lot of rain and just bad weather. But honestly, the rain stopped after about 5 minutes into the first quarter, and it was just a cold sort of, not even necessarily that windy of a game. But when I say ugly, I mean ugly because Illinois really could not get anything going. I mean, as a whole, the offense had 160 yards, only 14 on the ground. I was going to say not a lot of first downs. They ended up getting 9 first downs, but a lot of those came in the second half on drives that ended up really not going that many, really anywhere. They scored in the second quarter with a Dre Brown touchdown run, and then in the third quarter, James McCourt drilled a 50-yard field goal, his second attempt of the day, missed a 49-yarder earlier in that third quarter. It really just felt like the momentum has just been taken out of the program with a loss like that because, it's not like, I don't think that's an exaggeration because if you think about it, think back all the way to, the Michigan game. Illinois lost that game, but they did a little bit better than people expected them to. For the third quarter, they looked like a Big Ten competitive team. Fourth quarter, Michigan showed that they can close games. But after that, you have Wisconsin, which is the upset of the decade for Illinois, football at least. Sometimes some would say sports. Then you take care of business against Purdue. That, like I said, was a game that it was bad weather benefited Illinois because of the rush offense, and Purdue relies heavily on the pass. You take care of Rutgers, a team that you should win. You go on the road against Michigan State, and Brandon Peters has his really come-up performance. Josh Mbobebe comes up with a huge reception on 4th and 17, and you have this inspired, hope-filled team. They have a week off, and then they go to Iowa. It's a competitive game the entire time. Brendan, you were talking about how you were there, and it was, it was within 10 points the entire time, and once Brandon Peters went out, then it didn't feel like it was obtainable, but for the entirety of the game, it was winnable. And then you come back home, Senior Day, against a really, really, really bad Northwestern team, and you lose. And it's one of those things where you took care of business against the teams that you're supposed to take care of business against. You surprised 2 teams that people didn't really think that you could have won against. You were competitive against 2 ranked opponents in Michigan and Iowa. So for the past, 7-8 weeks, you saw an Illinois football team that was right where you wanted them to be, went with the mantra and with the idea that Lovie Smith was preaching of give us time, we're moving in the right direction, same thing that Josh Whitman stood behind for so long, and then you come and lay an egg against Northwestern. Northwestern has its most rush yards in a game all season, all year. Even UMass didn't let that many rushing yards against Northwestern. Matt Robinson clearly not the answer. What were your guys' takeaways from the game? What's your overall feeling after the game? Because I can't be alone here.
I think that it's a combination of a few things. I think that they went into that Iowa game, and I feel like a lot of people felt like they were going to lose. I mean, the most optimistic of Illinois fans were like, they definitely have a chance to win, and they did have a chance to win, but they go into the game, and I think the feeling is that they will probably lose a game, and the fact that they were so close throughout the whole game, and it came down to really 2 Brandon Peters interceptions in the first half. And then, that fumble while they were driving down the field to go get a score and to put them up. And And then when he gets that call that might not have been targeting or wasn't called targeting but might have been targeting, and it takes him out of the game. I think all of that kind of goes to your point that it just kind of sucked out the momentum from this team in a game that they were in the whole time, and it kind of just didn't work out for them in the end. When this whole run that they had put together, like, you could kind of bank on them pulling it out in the end in Wisconsin against Michigan State. So it just kind of didn't work out for them. And then obviously they go into this senior day and they're missing pretty much their go-to offensive guy in Josh Imatorbhebhe, their quarterback. They're missing pieces on defense. They're missing pieces on the line. So that's tough. And then you go to a senior day where, it's crappy conditions. It's coming off a Thanksgiving break. The stadium's empty. There's not a lot to fight for there. And they're already bowl eligible. And maybe that goes to the point where everybody's talking about it just looked like they weren't ready for this game. But it's hard to play out there when there's nobody watching you on your senior day. And I think it all kind of came into fruition. And this was the thing that stopped Illinois.
Mm-hmm. It's the dang bye week.
Yeah.
I mean, this happened the last time, too. Like, earlier this season, and then you had the bye week, and you come back and you lay eggs against Nebraska and Michigan. And not eggs, but you lose these games that you were competitive in. Nebraska, you arguably should have won at this point now, looking back.
Yeah.
And
not even looking back, the day of.
Right.
There was a point that I tweeted, this is Illinois' game to lose, and that was about a 2-1 Illinois team that had just lost to Eastern Michigan.
Right. And then Northwestern, a game that, once you even became bowl eligible, you said, okay, probably won't beat Iowa, can give them a good game, but you'll still have Northwestern. And you come in against Northwestern, and you're missing Brandon Peters. You're missing your top, 4 receivers? Because Imatorbhebhe was out. Trayvon Sidney.
Stampley's been out for a while.
Ricky Smalling, though. And, and Stampley and all these guys. And, no Luke Ford, blah, blah, blah. But then the guys you lose during that game, too. You lost Kramer during that game because he got injured. Yeah. You lost Milo Eifler during that game. You were already missing Jake Hansen. Nate Hobbs was in and out of that game against Northwestern. So you were already, playing from behind before the ball was even kicked. And then, so things already weren't great. Matt Robinson, uninspiring. Isaiah Williams, very uninspiring, too. Granted, he got really thrown into the fire in garbage time.
We'll get to the quarterback talk in a second.
But this was just a game that, you should have won, but all things considered, it doesn't really surprised me that Illinois lost this game, all things considered, injury-wise.
Yeah, Alex?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just, for me, it was just from the get-go, was just injuries. I was sitting at home. I actually got to watch the game at home for once. Like, that never happened.
Yeah.
I never get to watch these games at home. So I'm sitting there, comfort on my couch, and, just Northwestern just running amok over this Atlanta, running amok.
Really, yeah.
Over this Atlanta defense. And, after the frustration and throwing my phone, I was just like, okay, well, we were hurt. So, I mean...
Yep.
But also Northwestern was on their, 4th string quarterback?
Yeah, and
that was more of a running back.
Right. That was one of the things that I was going to say is, for all the injuries that you could talk about for Illinois and backup quarterbacks, Northwestern has gone down the list of quarterbacks, and so it doesn't feel like, although Illinois was more widespread injury, you could make a starting 11 on offense and defense with the amount of injuries they had after the game was over, with everything said and done. It was that many people. But it's almost not an excuse because Northwestern is, maybe a little loose cannon playing with nothing to lose, but also injury-ridden a little bit. A quick stat dump for you guys. Matt Robinson, 8 for 17, 108 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Isaiah Williams came in for the last drive, 3 for 6, 38 yards, an interception on the very last play, just trying to go for a touchdown at the very end. Caleb Reams, very nice senior day for him. 5 catches, 57 yards. Casey Washington with 4 catches, 55 yards. Ravon Bonner had a nice 25-yard catch up the middle. There was just not a lot going on. It's hard to really have stats when you don't really have drives. I mean, Northwestern dominated in time of possession. They took away Illinois' ability to run the ball and therefore made them pass and made Matt Robinson with very little, passing experience. Although he looked good in that third quarter Michigan when the little bit that he had to step in, this is a different case. On the ground, I mean, an embarrassment from the Illini. Dre Brown, 5 for 17 yards. Reggie Corbin, 7 for negative 10 yards. Ravon Bonner, 3 carries, 3 yards. Just nobody had anything going. Blake Hayes still a good punter.
Shout out, though, because Iowa and Northwestern have 2 of the better defensive linemen in the Big Ten.
Sure.
I mean, Epineza from Iowa, one of the better defensive
Going to go top 10
ends,
draft.
in all football. But, even on Northwestern, I forget his name now, but he was a senior, and he's probably going to get drafted too.
Is it Trent Goins?
No, it's Joe something.
Joe Gaziano?
Yes, Gaziano. He's really good too, and he's going to be probably a 3rd or 4th round draft pick. But
2 tackles for loss in the game.
you have these guys, which he took the lead in Northwestern history in either tackles for loss or
Wow.
I think he might have gotten half a sack or something.
I didn't know that he had a sack.
They said it on the broadcast. So
Said it also.
you've played these really good defensive lines, and Illinois, you achieved your goal. You have 6 wins. You're going to be bowl eligible. Not going to be in a bowl that you thought you were going to be a couple weeks ago anymore. Yeah. But I mean, this obviously takes you out of the Red Box Bowl, and
it really takes you out of the Red Box Bowl because a representative from the Red Box Bowl was at that game. Mm-hmm. They were watching to see, does Illinois attract eyeballs? And if you watch that game, the answer is a loud no. Yeah. We're going to do quick bowl game talk. From what I'm seeing, it's a Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah.
Because the Quick Lane Bowl is going to sell more tickets if a Michigan team is in it. The 2 6-6 Big Ten teams are Illinois and Michigan State. Illinois kind of deserves the bigger bowl because they won that head-to-head matchup, and also for the reason I just said, Quick Lane sells more tickets because it's way closer to East Lansing than New York is. So the Pinstripe Bowl is really cool for the Illini. I don't know if you guys plan on going. I know I can't because I've got a wedding that I have to go to.
I just don't have the money to go to New York.
Don't get me wrong. It's not easy because that's the thing about New York is all these places that we're far to go to, everywhere's going to be expensive to travel. New York's going to be crazy to stay.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's not really I mean, you could go there and back, I guess, if you really wanted to, or maybe even grab a hotel that's somewhere, middle Pennsylvania or something. But
right after, the day before this Northwestern game, Quick Lane would have been so much easier because that's driving. You can just turn around, come back.
Sure.
I had just dropped money on a separate trip in January, at the tail end of winter break. So I'm already really broke.
Yeah.
Can't afford to go to New York.
Yeah.
No.
I could stay with my aunt and uncle, but I don't have the money to drop for a ticket. So
let's all plan on going to the NCAA tournament this year and hope and pray for that.
Do it.
Yeah. Would that be more money though? Because depending on how far you got. So if you went to every game,
Well, we could get the 1 seed and get the Midwest.
Wouldn't that be nice?
So yeah, it's looking like the Pinstripe Bowl. Things will be revealed after the conference championships to just sort of figure out where everything is going to be. I haven't heard anything about who Illinois is going to play. Do you guys have any?
No.
The Pinstripe Bowl is one of those sort of unaffiliated bowls. They are affiliated with the Big Ten, but they sort of just bring in whoever they can afterwards. I think it used to be sort of a higher seeded bowl. I remember I was a big Notre Dame fan at high school. Notre Dame went to the Pinstripe Bowl after a 9-3, 8-4 season. They weren't ranked or anything, but they went there. So I don't know what the deal is, but I mean, Yankee Stadium's really cool. I mean, that's really cool that they do a football game there all the time, or every bowl season. So that'll be really fun for the Illini and for anybody that attends. But going back to this game, let's talk a little bit about the future. Actually, let's talk about the present, and then we'll talk about the future. Really disappointing senior season from Reggie Corbin.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
For a guy that we talked about as the focal point for the offense, the poster boy for Illinois football. I mean, you see him on Green Street and on I-74 and whatnot.
Even Big Ten Media Day.
Yeah. I mean, of the people that went to the Big Ten Media Day, Reggie Corbin, Nate Hobbs, and Alex, help me. Polcheski, thank you.
No, Corbin was the main attraction out of that.
I loved talking to Reggie Corbin too. I don't know. It just bums me out because he was one of those really nice guys. He was getting really good grades on Pro Football Focus for how he was doing, even though he wasn't necessarily carrying the load, and he was dealing with a little bit of injuries early on. But for a guy that had he was on running back watch lists and things like that, and now it's going to be really hard for him to tell NFL scouts to look at my junior year and look at what I do in the combine, because I still think that a team might stumble on him and really get a a 7th round pick or a free agent pickup and take him to the training camp and see what he can do, because when he's in open space, we've seen what he can do. He makes people miss, and he's fast, and he's smart.
He almost broke one against Northwestern, but he got caught at the end.
Yeah. So bummer for him. Credit to Dre Brown for really stepping up, and he's got another year of eligibility if he chooses to go with it. I believe he will.
He would apply. He would have to apply for it. He doesn't just get it. It would have to be a medical waiver. So it's
no guarantee because we're Illinois and we're not having a lot of luck with waivers.
But the last we heard was that he's talked about it with the coaching staff.
I imagine he would try.
I think he would. It depends on what you think the future is.
Yeah. I mean, if he wants to pursue football, He's gonna, because I don't think he can't leave right now and expect that he's gonna find a job. I would say.
Right, he would have to get kind of like where Reggie Corbin's at right now.
Yeah,
where
they're both in the same
just gotta
sort of
kind of
stock.
hope. Yeah.
But that's a big bummer, especially for Reggie, who's one of the more likable guys in Illinois athletics right now. But let's go ahead and talk about the future. So Matt Robinson clearly isn't the answer at quarterback. I know Brandon Peters has another year of eligibility.
Yep.
But if Matt Robinson isn't the answer, and you could tell that by the midway through the second quarter, what took so long for Isaiah Williams to get called? And is that a red flag of Isaiah Williams might not be the answer either? Because, we talked about when Peters committed and Isaiah Williams was supposed to come in as a quarterback, and he remained a quarterback on the depth chart if the coaching staff was going to move him around and use him in a different position. I don't want to get into Lamar Jackson territory where where I am on record saying you should put him at a wide receiver, because I still think that you get drafted or you get recruited as a 4-star quarterback for a reason.
Yeah.
You're a really good quarterback. But you only see the one drive. And he's trying to do too much because he's a freshman coming in on senior day. You're tasking him with getting mounting a 2-touchdown comeback with no timeouts on a day that nobody's gotten anything going. Your starting center is down, and you're banged up all across the skill positions.
Not set up to succeed.
Not at all. Goes 3 for 6. That pick, it's not on him. He just heaved it to the end zone and hoped that Illinois might have just made something happen. But I was talking to Brendyn about this on the way here. He's going to make me nervous every time he drops back, because of his just immediate maybe I should run the ball sort of attitude.
Instinct.
Yeah.
He's an athlete by every measure of the word. It's
that was the first thing they said when he came into the game on the broadcast.
He's gonna freak me out though.
Yeah.
And is Illinois coaching staff going to him so late a negative for the coaching staff, or is it indication that Isaiah Williams really might not be, the next coming that people have maybe already labeled him?
I think it's just more of an indication of they're trying to iron out that natural athleticism of just take off and go. I think they're trying to mold him into more of a quarterback. That's why the Brandon Peters extra year is so important, because you have more time to work on that. You just got to be able to sell him though. And saying, all right, we have Brandon here, but you sit for another year, iron this out, and then you can have the chance to be the guy once we get you more groomed to be, because I don't think he should move to wide receiver either. I'm right with you that you get recruited as a 4-star quarterback for a reason. But this Brandon Peters year is very important because, Isaiah Williams was clearly just looking to make a big play immediately. So you have to just iron out the decision-making process for him.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of like two things. I think I agree with Jake that, they brought him in, they recruited him because they do want him to be the future quarterback of Illinois. I think how much hype around him coming into the season and whether or not he was going to start right away or whatever, I think there has to be a level of reality to that. He has to be as good as the media has been saying, as, the coaching staff has been saying, but he is, a freshman in college, and playing in the Big Ten takes time. It takes knowledge of the game. Also, when you look at Robinson, I think maybe they were hesitant to pull him out because of things he's done in the past. That Michigan game, what he was able to do in the second half, I think that was really important. And if anybody was gonna, lead them back, I think that Robinson had more of the experience. And I think that's probably why the hesitation came out. And then, in the end, you kind of just want, whatever hope you have, and obviously Robinson, had no amount of confidence that he was going to bring it back. So you go to Isaiah. So I think that he played well in what he was given, and I think he's still very much on track to be the future quarterback. I think next year, as long as Brandon Peters is healthy, he's going to be the quarterback for the whole season.
Yeah.
I just think he's shown enough, but I think that just means that it'll be Isaiah's second year, and then he'll have 3 years of eligibility after if he chooses to stay.
Yeah,
I'm with that.
and don't get me wrong, Illinois' offense has now fully been molded around Brandon Peters.
Yes.
And when Isaiah Williams becomes the starting quarterback, we imagine after, in the 2021.
Yes.
Yeah, 2021,
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah.
It's a lot of twos.
Yeah,
Season.
it is a lot of
Yeah.
twos.
That's when we imagine Isaiah Williams would take over. The offense is going to have to look very different. The same way that, not to the same extent, but that the Rams revitalized how their offense worked when they went from, Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do something similar to utilize your quarterback's athletic ability while also giving him options passing-wise.
Right.
Real quick, last thing I want to talk about is what seniors is this Illinois team going to miss the most? Because looking at it, there's really not that many seniors on this team. It's Justice Williams, Bobby Walker, Caleb Reams, Richie Pettibon, Trenard Davis, Reggie Corbin, and Dre Brown. Dre Brown obviously might still be here. Richie Pettibon on the offensive line is that's a loss. But Caleb Reams really wasn't high up on the depth chart. Justice Williams is a tight end. Daniel Barker was sort of the primary receiving tight end. I don't know how Justice Williams is as a blocking tight end.
I was going to say, isn't
I think
Daly's
Daly's done. Yeah, he's a senior.
Oh, I'm just on the offense.
Is this
That's
Stanley
what put
Green's
me
a
back.
senior
Yeah,
too?
Stanley Green, Daly Hardy.
They're going to miss
Kenyon
defense.
Jackson,
Yeah.
Jamal Milan.
They're going to miss Green, Harding, Corbin the most. I think those three.
And I think Jamal Milan.
I think
He
Jamal
really
Milan's
turned
an
into a nice
underrated
deep
one.
tackle at the end of
But
the year.
I agree.
Woods has shown the opportunity that
Yeah.
he could fill that void.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definite
But also, I
hope
think
still there.
Yeah, I think that there's still a lot of stuff that you can work with in the linebacking core. Even though you're missing Dele Harding, you still have Jake Hansen, you still have Milo Eifler, and both of them have shown, especially Jake Hansen, have shown that they can play
And you have Mike
linebacker.
Cooper coming up.
Yeah. So I think that Milo Eifler has shown that he has the instinct and the big hit ability. I think as long as he develops in that offseason, he's going to be really good, and we'll still have a really good linebacking core come next fall.
Yeah. I would agree with you. I think it's mainly defensive. I think Jamal Milan, Kenyon Jackson, Daly Harding, and
Stanley Green was awesome this year.
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
me.
he was really good.
really stepped up as someone who really solidified the same. I mean, it was really him and Sidney Brown both kind of found their groove at the same time. So that allowed you to play Nate Hobbs and Tony Adams at corner, where they've both said they feel better and more natural. But I mean, I don't think we should understate the potential loss of Dre Brown, because you lose him and Reggie, then you're looking at a whole lot. I mean, Ravon Botter's never going to be your number one running back. Jakari Norwood has that flat-out burner speed, but you don't really know what else is there.
You don't know if Mike Epstein, what he'll look like after 2 ACLs.
Right, and then you have Reggie Love coming in, but that's a freshman who you don't know what you're getting with him either. So I think that shouldn't be understated. But defensively, I mean, Taylor Harding was a Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week.
And you said second in the nation in tackles?
Something like that.
It's I mean he blew up.
He's really high up on the tackle list.
He was awesome and really sort of the anchor there.
Third team All Big Ten, I believe.
So yeah, I mean Illinois football, they finished 6-6. If you would have told us at the beginning of the year that you'd have a win against Wisconsin and end up 6-6, you'd be thrilled about it. It just hurts that it comes to 6-6 instead of 7-5 after a game against Northwestern that you should win.
David Harding, third team All Big Ten.
Awesome.
That's a callback there. But.
Moving on to quick
We're gonna miss him.
little
We're gonna miss
segment.
him. We're gonna miss him.
Yeah, quick little segment on volleyball and Illinois volleyball going to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
they're on their way to Provo, Utah, to play Utah, and then likely the number 14 seed BYU. Illinois volleyball, their 10th appearance in the NCAA tournament in the last 12 years, their third straight. An at-large bid after a 16-13 season, 16-13 season, 11-9 in the Big Ten. Big Ten, the best volleyball conference in the nation. Brendyn, I was talking with you a little bit about this beforehand. Kind of feels like Illinois got in a little bit on pedigree.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, they're a really good team that just have really struggled with a tough conference this year. I mean, only 4 non-conference losses. So.
Yeah. So I think definitely, and those 4 non-conference losses came really early before they kind of figured out who they were as a team. Their setter, Diana Brown, is a freshman. Kennedy Collins, who plays in the middle, is a freshman, and she's a big contributor now. So I guess they really had to figure out what they were doing early. They kind of didn't finish the season maybe as strong as they were hoping for. They had a stretch in the middle of the Big Ten play where they were facing ranked opponent after ranked opponent after ranked opponent. And it was, you could see in the schedule it was really tough, but, they finished out against Northwestern 2 times, and they lost the second game, which was their season closer, and that bumped them out of the rankings, the AVCA coaches poll, so now they're not ranked anymore. But they're still in the tournament. They have to play Utah. which RPI is their 18th, and then if they win against Utah, they have to play BYU, which is RPI 17th, but Illinois is RPI 50th. So they barely got in to the tournament, but I mean, I think they still have a lot of experience that is going to be useful to them. They like BYU and Utah don't have to play the Big Ten schedule that you know Illinois does. Illinois, there's seven.
Pac-12 second best conference for volleyball.
Yes,
though.
definitely.
Yeah, right.
But
Stanford, UCLA.
Yeah, of course,
plenty of teams.
But I think that Illinois there's 7 Big Ten teams. Illinois was the 7th ranked that got into the tournament. I think that just how tough the Big Ten is, I think that's probably what they're banking on the most is their ability to have to play team after team after team after team that's gonna be there in a few weeks when the tournament really heats up. So don't count them out. I think they have a huge chance to make a run, but also they do have they are underdogs for the first time in a while. So
yeah. Illinois, like you mentioned, they go 1-1 both games against Northwestern over Thanksgiving break. They win their senior day at home in Huff Hall, and they go on the road to Evanston, lose to Northwestern.
Yeah.
Just anything you saw from those games or any notes that you have from those games? I mean, it felt like that loss against Northwestern as the last game of the season was like an oh crap, we might miss the NCAA tournament loss.
It was tough.
Luckily, they don't.
Because I feel like if you are ranked in the top 25, it's hard to keep you out of the tournament, really hard. But that last game pushed them out. I just think, I don't know, you go to Evanston, it's Thanksgiving break, it's their senior night. Northwestern's a really good team. They're not, tournament good, but, being middle of the pack Big Ten, you're going to be pretty good in any other conference you go to. So, they put up a fight and they just, couldn't handle Northwestern and Evanston. I think that they'll really have to focus on putting together runs that are sustained and being able to stop, other teams' runs because, in volleyball, you get out, you let another team score 3, 4, 5, points on you unanswered. It's kind of tough to fight back out of that. So I think that's probably what they're most focused on. And yeah.
Brendyn, who are the seniors on this team?
There's 4. There's Jacqueline Quaid, who's an outside hitter. Everybody knows her.
Yep.
Ashlyn Fleming, middle blocker. She's really good. Carolyn Welsh is really good. And then Beth Prince is the 5th year. They're all really good. I think.
Who of them is in the starting lineup?
Ashlyn Fleming and Jacqueline Quaid. Those are the 2 that I mean. All 4 of them have been there, for these last 3 seasons where they've been really good. And I think that you really look at Jacqueline Quaid, who was an All-American last year, out at that hitter position, and you look at Ashlyn Fleming, who really holds it down in the middle, very good defensively. I think that's who you have to really lean on, and that's who you have leaned on all season to kind of make that production.
Yeah. So NCAA tournament, Brendyn, when does it get started?
I believe the first match for Illinois is the 6th, December 6th.
This is Friday.
Yeah, that's Friday, and then if they win, they play the 7th.
Okay,
Yeah.
So this weekend, Illinois NCAA tournament. I'm not quite sure about the availability of that, whether on television or whatnot.
I believe it'll be. Actually, I'm not sure.
I imagine it'd be like BTN Plus.
Yeah.
Or the Pac-12 Plus. Which,
Yeah.
I remember that. I mean, watching that Arizona game for basketball.
Yeah, that was tough. That was really tough.
Wolf indeed. It's whatever.
This is the tournament though, so it might be a little.
Yeah. Hopefully, there's a larger availability for it.
Like ESPN3 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. ESPN's been good about playing volleyball, and Big Ten also has been. But Big Ten's going to have so many teams to play.
Yeah,
that,
of course.
Who knows? Moving forward and on to our last segment, going to be Illinois basketball. As seasons come to an end, other seasons start to pick up. Illinois basketball has been going on for a little while, but I feel like this game against Miami is what a lot of people looked at as the start of the meat of the season.
Yes.
As Brad Underwood called it, the 3 M's: Miami, Maryland, and Michigan, their upcoming 3 games. We'll talk about Maryland and Michigan a little bit later. Right now, let's talk about what Illinois basketball is up to right now. They're 8.5-point favorites against Miami, who play tonight. By the time that you watch this radio show, it will be after the game is gone on. So you can go back and listen to our freezing cold takes. Illinois comes into the game 6-1, Miami 4-3. Its 3 losses are against Louisville, the current number 1 overall team, Florida, and UConn. They haven't played in a week. They played in the Charleston Classic, the weekend. I always look at it as the first weekend of Thanksgiving break. So they last played on Sunday before Thanksgiving, so 7 days or so without basketball. Over break, Illinois played some games and dominated against Hampton and Division II opponent Lindenwood. They scored 100+ points in both of those games. There's really not much that I need to even need to say about those games because Hampton comes in, low-level Division I team, one of the highest-scoring teams in the nation. They've got one of the leading scorers in Division I because he just is their offense. Illinois keeps it quiet for only 21 points on the night. And Division II Lindenwood treated that Illinois game as an exhibition game. It was on their schedule as an exhibition game. So even though it counts on the schedule for Illinois and it puts another W in the column for the Illini, Lindenwood didn't really care that much, and that was evident by throughout the game. I'll be as honest as I can. Right. I mean, Lindenwood came in and played, and they went on a little 8-0 run at the beginning to make it 8-2 in their favor, and then Illinois didn't look back and. You could almost call the entire game a scoring run for Illinois. It was just that lopsided. I mean, both teams well taken care of by the Illini. So what do we really know about this Illinois basketball team? And I'll go around the table, and I want you guys to each say one thing, because here's what I know about this Illinois basketball team. Is, man, they rebound. Adding Kofi Coburn allowed the entire team to be able to box out men their size, and Kofi to have for the most part, an advantage inside because there's not many 7 foot 290 guys in college basketball, especially not freshmen.
Right.
I still think Kofi needs to step up a little bit and have more sure hands, be a little bit more of a bully down low because for all the good that he does, there's still some freshman moments, and maybe also be a little bit more competent with the ball in his hands, being able, when teams do a high press, when Illinois gets those looks at the end of games when it's closer. I've seen some freshman moments from Kofi, and I've seen some other big man with the ball moments from Georgie also, but. Man, this team rebounds. They really get after it. Offensive rebounds, they've won in every game that they've played. Defensive and total rebounds, they really dominate. They're one of the better teams in the Big Ten about it, and that's saying something because Big Ten has a lot of really good teams. But what do you feel like you guys know about this team? Because other than Arizona, a lot of the teams that Illinois have played felt like they should win those games and are not. Wins that you're going to look back around, Selection Sunday time and say, props to Illinois for beating that team.
Sure. I feel like just they're finally, what we know is you need those 2 games to really find your footing because there was a lot to pick apart before that of things that we were worried about. And these 2 games against lower level opponents have allowed, I think, Georgie to find his groove, have allowed Io to kind of find his shot, and allowed everyone to settle down coming into your first of the Big M's tonight. Especially because, and we can expand on this more later, but Miami's a big team, like a really, really big team. They have 2 guys that are 6'10", that play significant minutes, and they have another guy that's 7 foot that plays significant minutes, and another guy that is 6'11" and is around. So you've had this time against these lower level opponents, now you have to bring it tonight. And we've seen this team step up to higher competition in the past, so they have to do it again. Well, they didn't do it against Arizona.
My thing is, I mean, this is like obvious, but Kofi is so good.
Yeah.
I think we knew that he was going to be good. I don't know if we knew he was going to be good this fast. The fact that he already has 2 Big Ten Freshman of the Week, Big Ten Player of the Week, the fact that he's averaging a block and a half, 12 rebounds, 15 points. If he is able to sustain this through conference play and be able to match up with some of the Big Ten, big men that we know are in this conference, he might not be here next year. Like, he might go get drafted. It's like really good because I know last year the basketball team really struggled with interior defense just because how small they were. I think Georgie played bigger than he had to, or bigger than he could have at some points. But he played really well defensively, especially against Ethan Happ. But I think having Kofi there kind of locks down that interior defense, and I think his ability to just send shots the other way is so necessary for this Illini offense to kind of lock down the defensive end.
He's just a presence.
Yeah. No doubt. And as Underwood has talked about in other conferences, he can guard guards. He's mobile and has that ability to not. They can switch with him. When they play against smaller teams, which isn't necessarily going to be the case against Miami for most of this game, he has the ability to switch on to small, wing players or even guards and just at least stay in front of them. And he's tall enough that he doesn't need to box out too far outside. He can still stay true to the center.
He's so big.
Alex, your one thing you know about Illinois basketball?
For me, I guess always being the pessimist of the group, it's kind of negative, I guess. I guess for me, this team hasn't really found like that sixth man compared to last season. We knew it was Feliz coming off the bench, whereas this year we're still trying to see who's going to be that guy to kind of spark the bench. Against Lindenwood, I mean, DeMonte actually had a game where he scored 18 points. I mean, I wasn't there for that game, but it was nice to see him. It was nice to see him score, but just in general, nice to see someone coming off the bench and scoring.
Doing something.
Right, but I think that's not something we haven't really seen this year. I think for the most part, I think Underwood's set on this starting lineup of Io, Trent, Andres, Kofi, and Georgia. I think that's
sticking with it tonight.
Right, and which is fine. I like that starting lineup, but then when you look at this bench, you know, there's nobody coming off that bench so far that has, you know, given that type of spark that Andres did last season. So I think for me, what's apparent is we don't have that sixth man yet. And
there's a lot of guys you're hoping it could be.
Right.
You're hoping Kipper could be that, and you've seen flashes of that, obviously,
right.
even this season. You're hoping Alan Griffin could sort of be that as a 3-and-D guy. You're hoping Benjamin Busman's for dog. You know DeMonte can do some stuff, as we saw against Lindenwood, but like it's just like all these guys that could maybe do it, and no one is actually doing it.
Right, and that, you know, it's so far in this, we're like, we played 7 games, 6-1, and now you're going up against this little gauntlet of Miami, Michigan, and Maryland. You know, at this point, I would have liked to see sort of like a guy that we can say, hey, this is the sixth guy coming off the bench, and we just haven't seen that yet. So I'm hoping that, you know, at this point now when we're starting to play bigger teams, that, you know, somebody off the bench steps up, whether it's DeMonte, whether it's Kipper, whether it's, you know, Alan Griffin, you know, you hope to see one of those guys, you know, bring a spark off the bench.
Yeah, looking at the starting lineups for tonight, like I said, Illinois sticking with the same starting lineup they usually rock. Miami's has some experience. They've got seniors at the guard position and DJ Valasek. That's Valahevic. I'm going to find out what that pronunciation is actually tonight. I mean, that's an Eastern European name.
So Vesahelic?
Vesahelic? That's what I'm going to rock. I'm going to go with Vesahelic. Keith Stone, which is the name from Keystone commercials, and that's funny. They got a freshman in Isaiah Wong who starts at wing, a junior in Chris Likes that is their point guard, and then Nazir Brooks, whose name probably sounds familiar from the Cincinnati Bearcats, and he's a senior transfer that is starting for Miami tonight. It's a bigger team, but also Miami gets most of their scoring from their guards. I mean, Vesahelic has about 14 points a game. Cameron McGusty has 13 points a game. Chris Likes has 13 points a game. I mean, it's a very sort of even spread of guard scoring, even with their big men. And so the rebounding is going to be the big key for Illinois tonight.
Predictions?
Yeah, let's do it. Predictions for tonight's game, because I think this is a tale of two teams. This is a tale of a Miami
team. Spread is?
It's Illinois' 8.5-point favorites.
Wow.
I think that Miami comes in with 2 games that they didn't score 50 points against Florida or UConn. They're playing their worst basketball up until this point in a young season. Illinois is on the opposite end of the spectrum, where they played a Division II opponent and a low D1 opponent, but they've been seeing the ball go in the hoop a lot recently. So I think it's a team with a lot of rest that has a lot of problems to fix, and a team that just saw 2 games that they could pretty much effortlessly get what they wanted. On top of, they also, the Citadel in Hawaii, those other games that Illinois really took care of business pretty much all throughout. So I think it's two teams that come into this game with very different mindsets, but also understanding that, they're the first game of the Big Ten ACC Challenge, and they've got a lot, conference writing on what they do. So we'll go around the room. We'll do predictions. I'll go ahead and start. I think Illinois takes care of business tonight. I think it comes down to rebounding, as I talked about. I know Illinois is a good rebounding team. This is one of the bigger teams that they've seen. They've seen a lot of small teams. I mean, that's sort of what you get with Division II teams and other, Hampton-sized school teams. I feel like they're very guard-heavy, and they rely on the scoring from there. While Miami still relies on its scoring from its guards, it's a big team, and I think that Illinois still manages to get it done. I think they win 73-68.
The over-under is at 145.5 right now. Seems high.
Do what you want with it, man.
But I think Illinois has the tools to win this game. I think this is going to be Kofi's first real test against an experienced big man who's about his size. But you'd love to see Io do something against better competition too. So I do think Illinois wins this one. I think they win 75-71.
Right? Gotcha.
And a slight over.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a better game than the spread is saying. I think it'll be a little closer, just because we've seen Illinois at times kind of give up runs, especially early in the game. So I think Illinois sees like maybe a slight first half deficit, comes back and handles business in the second half. Probably, if I had to say, 74-69.
Nice.
Okay.
Alex?
I don't know. I'm gonna go a little low. I got the U losing. I'm gonna roll with give me 69, 64. I don't know. I think just because I feel like this team's first real test, they may kind of come out the gate stumbling a little bit. We've seen that this team is a better second half team than they are a first half team. So I think, like Brendyn said, we could see that first half deficit, but I think they pick it up in the second half. But I don't know. I don't see them quite scoring as well.
Yeah. All right, so everybody's got an Illinois win. Everybody's got sort of like a 4 or 5 point win for Illinois. I feel like that's very fair. It's college basketball, though. I always feel like there's so many games that it's a 4-point game the whole time, and then fouls at the end to try to get something going, makes a final score, 9, 8 points, even without, really feeling like it. All right, quick hits. Everybody's going to go around the room. They're going to say their first thing that comes to their mind when I go through the entire rest of the Big Ten ACC Challenge. Okay. Who wins in each of these games? Clemson at Minnesota tonight.
Minnesota.
I believe so, too. Then this next round of games, all tomorrow. Northwestern at Boston College.
Boston.
Iowa at Syracuse.
Syracuse.
In the Carrier Dome.
Give me the Qs.
Yeah, Syracuse.
I kind of believe in Iowa in that one. Number 4, Michigan at number 1, Louisville. Best game of Big Ten ACC Challenge.
Louisville. At Louisville, you said, right?
At Louisville.
It's at Louisville.
Michigan.
Louisville.
Give me Michigan. I believe in the hype.
I believe in Michigan.
Florida State at Indiana.
Ooh, Indiana.
Number 17, Florida State at Indiana. This is a good team.
Yeah, Florida State.
Florida State and Indiana.
At Indiana.
At Indiana. It is Indiana. Yeah, give me Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana and Assembly Hall. Rutgers at Pitt.
Pitt.
Rutgers.
Pitt. Give me Pitt.
Yeah, give me the home team in that game. Yikes. Number 10, Duke at number 11, Michigan State.
Ooh, that's going to be good.
Michigan State.
Yeah, give me Michigan State.
Give me Michigan State in that one, too. Go Big Ten.
Fine.
Number 5, Virginia at Purdue.
Virginia.
Virginia. I think it's a close game, though. Yeah. Nebraska at Georgia Tech.
Oh.
Give me the Hoy ball. Give me Nebraska.
Yeah, sure. Nebraska.
I like corn, so yeah.
Give me Georgia Tech. I think Nebraska stinks. Notre Dame at number 3, Maryland.
Maryland.
Wake Forest at Penn State.
Penn State.
Ooh, Penn State.
Oh, actually, I'm going to roll Penn State, too.
Yeah, I have no clue about Wake Forest.
Yeah,
Penn State still has Lamar Stevens, and he's scary.
Lamar Stevens is scary.
I think about Tim Duncan, Chris Paul, and I'm like...
Yeah, nope, not they're not playing. Wisconsin at North Carolina State.
Wisconsin, I guess.
Ooh, actually...
I'm thinking, how was NC State this year?
I have no clue.
Oh, man. I actually might roll... Give me NC State. I don't care.
The home team.
Give me NC State.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me NC State.
The problem is I know the Big Ten teams and kind of where they're at.
Yeah,
I have no
I'm not
idea about
sure
the ACC teams. And then maybe the best game is the very last one. Number 6, Ohio State versus number 7, North Carolina in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah. Okay. You guys are all in. I believe so too. I mean, the home team right there.
UNC and Chapel Hill.
Yeah. I feel like Cole Anthony is just
he's
go
cold.
bananas in that game.
2 last things that I wanted to think about. How about Illinois' early Big Ten schedule? I don't know if anybody saw this coming. At number 3, Maryland, and home against number 4, Michigan. Those are the 2 games they're getting right off the bat. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, crazy. Underwood talked about the 3 M's. I think, my thought process was if you go 2 for 1 through these 3 games, you're very happy with it. 3-0 is, I think, a little unobtainable. Number 3, Maryland is a really tough game.
It's a tough game.
Last year, you got to think, when Illinois was at Maryland, it was really in Madison Square Garden.
Right.
So that and Maryland's one of the tougher places to play. The behind the basket stuff they do is really hard for free throws and a lot.
I think even if you go through this 3-game stretch 1 and 2, and like you can at least hang around with Michigan, I think you're still okay with
I think that's how you have to look at it. I don't think you realistically go
top
into
5 teams this early in the
right
season. Like,
into like we have to beat them. I think you have to stick around, and you can't beat yourself. That means you can't let them go on a run early.
Turnovers.
Yeah, turnovers, and also you can't have what happened in Arizona. You can't make it a close game, and then in the second half just get demolished. You have to. If it's going to be a close game in the first half, it has to end a close game.
Yeah, you got to come out in the second half
yes.
because that was something that didn't happen in Arizona. I mean, they went on 2 back-breaking runs, and before you knew it, it was a 20-point game. No, I would agree. I just said 2-1 to begin because that's an amazing way to go about it.
Real good about that.
Yeah, which starts with Miami tonight. You got to win Miami tonight when you look at that stretch because you can't all of a sudden go from a 6-1 team to bottoming out at 6-4 because I shouldn't call it bottoming out because these are really really good teams you're about to play.
Is that 3 games in 10 days?
Yeah, well, it's Monday. Or it's today against Miami, and then I think it's Saturday at Maryland. I know Michigan's reading day eve on Wednesday, so it's 3 games in 10 days. I don't know when. I can't remember exactly when the Maryland game is. Michigan game. You go to the Michigan game. It is going to be. Yes. I mean. It's reading day eve for all students, and also, I mean, in comes Juwan Howard and this new look Michigan team that's lighting college basketball on fire right now, going from unranked to number 4. I was shocked that they jumped up. Not that it wasn't deserved, but it was just springboard like that
into the top 5. Well, especially if you handle business against Miami tonight, and you even if you don't beat Maryland, that should still be a packed house for Michigan.
And you talked about close losses. You got to remember when Selection Sunday comes around, they show a 3-point loss to Michigan as compared to a 30-point loss to whoever. Last thing I want to say: how is DePaul not ranked? They're 7-0.
I think because it's DePaul.
But they've got 3 road wins against Power 5 conferences.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be once it gets later into the season, I feel like that's when it's going to get.
But I mean, for the same reason that it was Michigan needs to really be ranked high, and then they did. DePaul got the disservice where it's this is still an undefeated team.
But that's the difference between Michigan and DePaul. It's Michigan. People expect Michigan to be there, and I hope DePaul gets ranked because I mean, if they deserve it, they deserve it. They have had good teams in the past, but it's DePaul, and people are always cautious about schools that historically haven't been dominant in
recent. I mean, I want to say back in the 90s.
Yeah, they
used to be really good, but and then too it's hard to turn your head away from Michigan. Beating back-to-back top 10 teams in North Carolina and Gonzaga and handling Gonzaga by 20 points. So
it's crazy.
I don't know, man. I still think DePaul deserves the cred.
That'd be cool though.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for our show today. Thank you so much for listening or watching. Make sure to tune into the Tuesday, Thursday show as they'll be able to recap this Illinois basketball game that we just talked about and give all their takes and everything. They'll have a fun Seahawks versus Vikings game to talk about tomorrow too. We're going to get to more of those national NFL storylines on our Wednesday show. So thank you so much for listening to today's show on behalf of myself, Jake, Brendyn, and Alex. Thank you very much for stopping by.